So this is entitled At the Heart of It All, and this is my first recording. I started creating when I was in the third grade. I have no idea how old I was then, but I knew I liked making things. I liked stuff that was unique, colorful, dark, full of different shapes. I liked images, loved icons. I was fascinated by fonts. I could appreciate sparkly things, but I hated glitter, and I still do. I really don't think that'll change. In the fourth grade, I remember my parents bought a house. A big deal because the three of us were living in a rented one-bedroom apartment, and we shared a kitchen with a group of people that knew of me before having ever really met me. This was also a big deal because it meant I had a room to decorate with whatever I want. So hours were spent making my own posters and sketching how I would fill each wall and with what. I remember begging a family friend for this large landscape painting that they had because I thought it would be the perfect piece on the wall over my bed. It's still there today, even though I'm not. In the 11th grade, I had a crush. She was one of my friends, and at the time, what I felt for her was the most important thing. So imagine the heartbreak when before I was even able to profess my undying like for her, that she said she could never date a guy like me because I draw too much. I couldn't draw then to save my life, and I still can't draw now. But what she was talking about were my sketches. You see, I did 9 different subjects in the 11th grade, and I had 9 different notebooks. The back of all 9 were canvases for the ideas, random thoughts, and just all the creative inclinations that I'd get. But to her, it was a turnoff, and that meant at that time that it was a turnoff for me as well. So I recluded, I stopped making. There was no sense in creating, much less even ideating anything. It's my freshman year of college. New country, suppressed accent, yet still noticeable difference. Few friends, first semester, introduction to cast, an opportunity to create again. So I take it, but not only do I take it, I kinda run with it. A part of me that had died in the 11th grade had a resurrection moment. My attention shifted again to stuff that was unique, colorful, dark, full of different shapes. I sought out images, stared at icons, again fascinated with fonts. Appreciated sparkly things a bit more, but I still hated glitter. That'll never change. It didn't take long to realize what my creativity had birthed in me. As a storyteller, and it was cool to be able to put a name to the passion, but the responsibility was grander than the identifier. You see, I was not only a creative, I was not merely a storyteller, I was also a black man with an accent that scared many far beyond what they were willing to admit, existing across the land of 50 states that proved to be less united than they actually were. As much as my work isn't identified by my identity, it constructs a great deal of it. As a creator, I feel the responsibility to tell and show the stories of those who looked and sounded like me in spaces like fine art and media that not even considered us at one point. So, this in mind, inspired but not defined by the circumstance and the reality that just is, I, a storyteller, started to storytell. The first thing I did was one of the things I knew best. I started to dance. I joined a group of students of African and Caribbean descent who were passionate about their heritage and wanted to pay homage to the excellence that is the Black diaspora. With every flick of the wrist, every flip, every lean left, and every lean right, with every body roll, successful and unsuccessful jumps, we told the story of a resilient people and their traditions. You see, the thing about tradition is that it's rooted in history, and history can be addictive. We see the power of history on days like Martin Luther King Day each January, a day for commemoration, recognition, and reflection. But it's also a day that brings rage for many. The many who somehow in 2020 still experience the reality of 1968. As a result, days meant for celebration are instead relegated to fighting the fight. As someone who makes art, I caution myself to say artist. The fight is always front of mind. I thought I loved sculpture. The first piece of art I made was actually that. But I came to realize that mixed media is where it's at for me. But sculpture or mixed media, one thing that was clear is a lack of art, considered fine or not, that dealt with this fight. If art is to get at the heart, then how has it historically excluded those who were at the heart of it all? So once again, I started to storytell. In a room full of abstract paintings and Eurocentric sculptures hung my work of black bodies and tradition. From exploring nostalgia and the attempts to preserve and properly represent a culture that many have never even experienced themselves, even though identifying with it, to thinking about black prom. Yes, not just prom, black prom. Its exaggeration and over-the-topness, it's been one of the moments of celebration for black folk, and it's been the subject of racial paternalism by the same folk who throw lavish sweet 16s, quinceañeras, and bar mitzvahs. My work, my art, it stood out. It's made people uncomfortable, but it's made people think, and for that, I continue to storytell. I've been the conduit for many stories. The story of a Senegalese artist, a Somaliland born and raised feminist who got the highest scores in her country and was the first in her family to go to college, a college student who started an immigration clinic on his college campus to fight for the rights of the heart, of the land, of the conditionally free, a West African who loves basketball and sculpture, who is driven by the sense of responsibility to his family and to represent an entire continent, a social justice activist who will literally read your life with astrology, an Iranian professor who's redefining academia and really using her art to shed light on the issues of her people, a bona fide woman from the South who has fought all odds to make it and is determined to keep going in spite of, and a change maker from Paraguay who looked at discrimination and the literal act of hate in the eye and decided to persist regardless. All powerful people doing powerful things and making crazy change. You see, in the 11th grade, I thought it was about me. I quelled a gift to please others, which is a human thing to do. But life has a funny way of making you realize that it's almost never about you. Storytelling is my tool of change, but the best thing about it is that we all have it. Some may be more creative than others and express it differently, maybe with glitter. I'm still not a fan. That never changed. But because we all have a voice, we can storytell. How we use it and for whom is really up to us. But one thing's for sure, mine will continue to be of us and always for us.